Welcome to Real Takes.
And Movie Breaks.
I'm Kimberly.
I'm Michael.
And today we are reviewing the film The Life of Chuck. Please subscribe to our channel, click that notification bell so you never miss a review. This will be our spoiler review, so if you don't want spoilers, click the link in the description for no spoilers. But in this review, we'll go into more detail about what we liked and didn't like, why, and our ideas as filmmakers, how we might improve the film if given the opportunity.
I really enjoyed sort of the sentimental value of this movie. I think what I really liked was just the simplicity of, we're going to make a film that sort of revolves around a small community about a single character, the titular character of the film, and sort of his perspective on his own life and what life is and what one should live for, or what one should place importance on in life. I think a lot of people sort of go through their life sort of in many ways sort of unconscious about a lot of different things. There are really a lot of key scenes throughout the film that I can think of. The dance scene obviously being one of them. One of the scenes I think is really important though was the Mark Hamill scene where he's explaining to him why he should become an accountant. And I think that was like a really like critical sort of, like, I'll never forget that scene. It was a very like coming of age sort of moment where another, I listed a lot of films that it reminded me of in our spoiler free review. One film it reminded me of actually was, do you remember the Nicolas Cage film, It Could Happen to You, where he's the cop
Yeah.
and he wins the lottery.
I love that movie.
And he sort of goes through an existential crisis because he wins the lottery.
Yeah.
And he's a cop and he's sort of married to the wrong person, and but he doesn't even realize why he is where he is in his life. And then all of a sudden this crazy amazing thing happens to him, and then his life changes. And that's how I feel a little bit about the moment when he decides to dance in the street. It's a similar sort of thing where there's this moment of sort of glowing. Now, the character dies shortly thereafter. He doesn't know he's going to die. Mm-hmm. But that's not the point. It's about like dancing and being in the moment and enjoying, being present and being open to what life has to offer, not trying to live your life in accordance with how you think it should go, which I think is a lesson that everybody always, it's something everyone always forgets, because they're like, no, this is my life needs to be this way, and that's not how it is. It just isn't. Things are going to happen to you in life. It's going to give you twists and it's going to give you turns, and a film like this sort of gives you a little bit of a because at the end he realizes how he's going to die, because he sees himself dying in that room when he goes into that room, and he's like, well, I'm just gonna not worry about it. I'm just going to live each day as best I can, which is all you can do. So this film offers a sort of a very complex sort of theme and a very simple story, and it's executed really well. I have some issues, but really well.
I agree with a lot of what you said. I think my favorite scene in the movie was the dance scene. I could personally relate to that a lot, just because I grew up as a dancer. I started taking dance when I was 3 years old, and I danced throughout most of my high school, college career, and I still love to dance to this day. And I think one of the reasons why I enjoy dancing is because it gets me out of my head. The part of my brain that wants to control my life, that wants to live by certain rules, certain societal expectations, and wants to try to achieve a level of success. But when I'm dancing, that part of my brain shuts off, and I'm just enjoying moving to music in my body. I'm just enjoying breathing, existing in my body, and just enjoying the rhythm of the music. And so there's something, I think, if you're a dancer, you can really appreciate that moment. The pure joy he's feeling when he's dancing, even when he's a kid, and then the moment in the street. I think it was really well made, because you can see him pause for a moment and then make that connection with the girl on the street playing the drums. And then I remember thinking, okay, so how does he know all these dance? Is this like a musical? How does he know? Because realistically, it would take a lot of training to have that skill. And so I was thinking, well, this is kind of silly. It's turning into a musical. And then I realized later on, oh, he learned to dance from his caretaker, his grandmother who raised him.
And she does the same thing that he does when he's singing in the street.
Yeah, he reaches out to the girl just like his grandmother reaches out to him. Come dance with me, sister. And so it really does make you think about what matters most in life isn't the level of success, our careers, or however we want to measure success, but a mosaic of moments of joy like that, with people you care about, and how so much of our passions and our joys are shaped by our upbringing. This is a character who deals with a lot of loss. His parents die and his grandmother died, and he deals with a lot of loss, but somehow he still can find joy in dancing and in other things. My second favorite scene, I will say, is probably when his grandpa is explaining math and how math is everything, and how even when you're dancing, the counts are math.
That's what the scene I was talking about.
Yeah, and how you can examine everything in life through a mathematical philosophy. And if you think about this film as non-linear, time, we try to quantify time, and we try to measure time. But this film is sort of posing the question, what's more important? Measuring time, organizing time, or how we experience time? Our la durée, as Henri Bergson would say, la durée, the experience of time is more important than measured time. And there's a lot of dialogue early on in the movie about, how we measure a year. It sort of reminds me, actually, of the theme in Rent, 525,600, because there's all this talk about, well, a year is actually this long, and does that even matter? But I love how, it starts with these characters that later on we realize is just, the way I interpret it anyway, was just his mind as he's dying. He's sort of remembering what is most important in life through these different characters he's creating. Mm-hmm. He's remembering moments, but not exactly as they happened earlier in life. Maybe because of the glioblastoma, he doesn't remember them exactly, but he remembers the deeper meaning of them. He remembers, so his mind, the deeper meaning of his life is still there, even though his brain is, So I think that was like a beautiful way to sort of show that even if your brain is malfunctioning and you have a glioblastoma, there's still some part of you that will, live on through other people's memories, right? And so I love the writing. I love those two scenes the best. And I just love the sentiment of, you don't have to live every life being what you think you should be. It's okay to be open to new, unexpected things, like dancing in the street. To break up life's monotony.
The idea of the movie is that you should live every day like he does that day when he dances in the street.
Yeah.
And that's why when she asks him, why did you start dancing? He says, I don't know. But it's a mystery. It's all a big mystery. Life is a big mystery. It's not a thing that is sort of, it's not lined up perfectly the way you think it is in your head. Everybody thinks that their life sort of makes sense in their head, and it really doesn't. And great art reflects that. What I didn't like about the film, it's not really things I didn't like. I liked the movie pretty much all the way through. But what I didn't like was how long it took at the beginning for us to finally get to where we actually have a scene with Tom Hiddleston as Chuck. I think we're like 35 minutes in before we really see him. I do like that opening. I just think maybe that opening kind of it's one where the viewer kind of has to be like, all right, I'm into this because I kind of know that this is the kind of movie I want to watch. Otherwise, it might be a little like, who is this? What is going on? And so we're getting a lot of abstractions of these different bits of dialogue that he remembers from his life, and we're getting them from these characters sort of in his mind as the universe is blotting out, but it's really him dying. And so it's a little strange, that beginning. It's a little surreal, and I think it's fine. It's almost a little like sci-fi or something, that opening part. The other thing is we don't see much of adult Chuck. We see him a little bit. We see him in the dance scene, and then we see him tell a little story to his wife as he's dying. I kind of would like to have seen a little bit more Chuck, just a little bit more. It's almost like if you had the movie The Truman Show and we barely saw Truman. A little, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like
we saw younger Chuck more than we saw older Chuck.
We see little kid Chuck a lot more.
Yeah.
But Truman Show, another movie that this invokes. I was thinking about The Truman Show. Back to the Future, when he goes back in time and we're back in the 50s and it's like sort of this idyllic time compared to the 80s or whatever. But it's like it's sort of letting us sort of feel like it's okay to have sort of these sentimental feelings about the past and about these different things, and it's okay to go through these different emotions and all these different things. So even the things I don't necessarily like about it, I still like about the film, if that makes sense. I just feel that maybe there were some limitations, so they weren't able to do as many scenes with Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they could have expanded him a little bit more into the story.
Yeah.
And but the little kid was really fantastic. Mark Hamill was really great as the grandfather. Really great part from Mark Hamill, and it was really cool to see Mia Sara come back from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Another film that this made me think of was Ferris Bueller's Day Off, the John Hughes films, like Breakfast Club or Home Alone, or even Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Father of the Bride. That's an era that just doesn't exist anymore. And maybe something like this will trigger that to kind of come back, because I think it's something people want.
Yes. So to your point, I agree with you. I would have liked to have seen Middleton just a little more too, because he's a great actor and he's very charismatic and compelling. So I would have liked to have seen him a little more as well. Although I do think the younger actors playing Chuck did a great job, especially young Chuck. I thought he was like really endearing to watch. And I do like the Mark Hamill character as well. And I love the supernatural element that it touches on. The ending, I think the ending is a perfect way to end it, because younger Chuck sees himself older in his deathbed. And it sort of poses the question, okay, if we were able to see into the future and to see what we're going to be like when we're dying, would that change anything? I mean, because it does sort of force us to remember our mortality, which oftentimes we don't want to think about our mortality. But I think that this film, it reminds us that we have to remember, we don't know. We could die tomorrow. We could die in 2 weeks. So nothing is guaranteed. So to not take time for granted and to enjoy every day, do crazy things like dancing in the street, embrace life's mysteries and enjoy it as much as you can. So I love the way it ends. However, he has that one line at the end. He says, "I'm going to live my life, and because I am wonderful." It would have been interesting to see kind of, I like that it's sort of, without seeing clips of what his life was, we fill in the gaps with our imagination. But I do wonder if it might have been more powerful because we were working with such great actors if we had actually seen just short little clips of him doing that. Older Chuck actually embracing more moments like dancing in the street. Because we really only see him do that once. That's like his moment of joy, spontaneity, breaking up the monotony. But how many other times in his life did he do that? We don't get to see that. So it's just left up to our imagination. So at the ending, I was wondering, I wonder if we could have actually seen some of those moments, like those moments in his life where he is touching other lives and having those moments of joy and spontaneity. I wonder if that would have been even more powerful, if that makes sense. So if I were to remake the movie, I would play around with okay, let's see if we can show some clips to kind of see this great actor, even if it was no dialogue, just brief moments of his life where he was doing things like dancing in the street. So that was really my only idea for improving the film. But other than that, I mean, I really enjoyed it. It surprised me, and not a lot of films in 2025 have surprised me. So it's probably my favorite film I've seen so far this year.
Yeah, me too. What would you give it out of 5?
4.5 out of 5.
I'll change my review, my rating from the no spoiler review. I'll give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Now that you thought more about it.
Yeah, after talking about it, I think it's really, really great, especially now. Like the context of having it now is pretty special. So to fix it, I mean, there's not really much to fix other than adding scenes.
Enhance, yeah.
Just adding scenes, I think, is probably, because I think it's a little on the short side. I think it could be a little bit longer, and it could probably have a little bit more of a complete narrative if it was longer. But it's from a short story, so, and that's how Stand By Me was, that film, about the four young boys coming of age story with River Phoenix, and Corey Feldman's in it as well. And Stephen King has some really good short story material. Green Mile also. But yes, this is a fun one to watch for the channel. I'm happy that I got to see this one and talk about it. And yeah,
let us know what you thought of the film if you've watched it. Hopefully our review helped you process it a little bit more, or helped you think about it in a different way. If you have any thoughts, please comment below. I'm always curious to know what you think, so I'd love to hear from you. And keep it real.
Singing in the Rain. That's what I was thinking.
Oh,
Singing in the rain. It reminds me of as well.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Absolutely.
Lots of films that this movie invokes, and I think just that alone is worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, thank you so much for watching. Keep it real.
Have great texts.